All right, let's talk about the Cincinnati Bengals. Where do the Bengals go from here? A team that has a quarterback that pretty much everybody considers a top 4 quarterback. I'm sure there's someone who disagrees, but pretty much everyone would put him in that category. He got MVP votes, not first place votes, but he did get MVP votes here. So he's someone that people like, Joe Burrow. Yet they were not able to be successful enough to make the playoffs. So how do they improve here? Well, first, let's use PFF grades to see what the problem is, and you can see kind of big differences in certain positional categories according to PFF. Second highest graded passing, so that's Joe Burrow. Yep, he's very good. Seventh best receiving, that's mostly T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. And then the pass blocking, 29th. Run blocking 7th, interestingly enough, but 27th rushing, 18th run defense, 26th pass rush, and 20th in coverage. I mean, there's just too many gross numbers on this list for a team that's so good at passing and receiving. One thing you definitely have to look at is, okay, do you try and get the pass blocking better? Although, to some degree, the passing game is great. Maybe you just say, you know what, we'll just be a bad pass blocking team and let's try to fix our defense. Although you don't want Burrow to take a ton of hits because he is your most valuable asset in your organization. So that's kind of how that works. For upcoming free agents, obviously T. Higgins is the big one who, as of recording this video, I'm kind of pre-recording some of these videos, so it's possible some big news will happen. But as of recording it, I've heard some reports saying that that the Bengals plan on franchise tagging T. Higgins. As of right now, though, that hasn't happened, and I haven't heard Rappaport or Schefter tweet it out, so I'm still going to play it out as though he could get a big term deal as well. If he gets a long-term deal, it would be, PFF would project it as $28 million. These are the projections of how much money they would make in free agency. So you got some other players too. Mike Hilton, B.J. Hill, Mike Gesicki, Von Bell, Joseph Asai, and Trent Brown are kind of interesting pieces. But as a whole, the key guy is T. Higgins, right? Can they sign him? Can they keep him after they got good production out of him on his rookie deal? But you look at the upcoming cap space that the Bengals have, $46 million in 2025, and it balloons up to $170 million the following season. So definitely they have the money to spend on a T. Higgins. Like, if they don't pay T. Higgins, it's not because they can't figure out a way to make it work. They can make this work if they want to. The question is just, do they want to? Worth mentioning, a franchise tag of Higgins is about $26 million, and also that contract is fully guaranteed, and you can't kick the can down the road at all with a franchise tag. Part of why you like to give a guy a long-term deal is if you want to, can backload that contract. But if you're paying him $26 million 1 year, can't backload that contract. You can't have void years in a franchise tag. You're paying it all that season. But they have the money. They have the money to re-sign these players if they choose to. And keep in mind, the way the salary cap works, you can kick the can down the road if you would like. And these are some upcoming players that if they cut, this is how much money it would save them. You're right. You might be sitting here saying, okay, clearly you typoed and put Trey Hendrickson on the list. Obviously, he's not someone you would cut. And you're right. You would never cut Trey Hendrickson. The guy was my pick for Defensive Player of the Year last year. He was he got the most Defensive Player of the Year votes out of an edge rusher, I believe. Did he, or did TJ Watt get more? I should have double-checked that. But he was in the list. He got Defensive Player of the Year votes. He was someone that was talked about, rightfully so, despite how bad that defense was. What he was able to do was sometimes getting no time to get to the quarterback, still getting to the quarterback consistently. It was impressive. But you could save $16 million and you could get draft capital for him. And is that a move you decide to make of, hey, we need some money here and we want draft capital? Like, if we let T. Higgins walk, we're losing him for nothing. Trade Trey Hendrickson, use most of that money to re-sign T. Higgins, and then you can also get, in theory, at least a first-round pick back. It's an option on the table. I wouldn't do it. I'd keep Trey Hendrickson, just saying it's an option on the table. And I believe he's actually expressed interest in potentially wanting to move on as well, so that's where things get a little tricky here. But some other players like Sheldon Rankins, a good player, worth $10 million. If you want to get rid of him, though, you could. Sam Hubbard, who did not have a great year last year when he has had really good years, you could get rid of him for $10 million or, again, trade him. Alex Kappa for $8 million, and then Jermaine Pratt and Geno Stone, who both have had good seasons in the past, did not play great last year. Do you consider moving off of either of those guys as well? But again, it has to be mentioned, the Cincinnati Bengals are not strapped for cash right now. The biggest issue they have is they're the Cincinnati Bengals, who notoriously don't love to spend big money on free agents or on players in general. Now, we have seen some of that change with them signing Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard, so they will at times, those were free agents, they will at times make a move like that, but I don't know. It's interesting. Do you want to? I think the logic is they only have so much money. I think the Bengals don't quite have as much cash as other owners do, and while you're always going to have a lot of money if you're a NFL owner, right? There are teams that spend more and there are teams that spend less, and the Bengals historically are a team that spends less. That's just where they're at right now, and that might be a situation. But I think part of it too is if you're a team that spends less, do you want to pay Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Joe Burrow? It's still at the same time, though, one of those things where I think part of why they were able to beat Kansas City was because, and played them close another time, was because, yes, the Bengals defense really showed up in those games, but also because Kansas City had this great secondary, and Cincinnati was kind of one of the few teams that if they want to man up against you, they could beat. And we actually just saw that with Philadelphia, another situation where they had really good receivers that, like A.J. Brown, can just beat Trent McDuffie in a way a lot of receivers can't. Letting one of your best assets you've had the past few years walk for nothing is just not a move I would make. I don't care who's in free agency. I want to keep T. Higgins and I want to keep Trey Hendrickson, and you can keep both. They have the cap space to do it. The question is just, do they have the cash to do it, and do they want to do it? I know that we did see the Chiefs have success with trading away Tyreek Hill and then being able to build through the draft and build a team that won back-to-back Super Bowls and went to 3 straight. But they also had like a historic draft, really 2 amazing drafts right in a row. One was Tyreek Hill's last year, and then the other was the year right after they traded Tyreek Hill. You can't bank on that. And it is worth mentioning with the T. Higgins decision, which is their biggest decision they're going to make this offseason, they could franchise tag him and just hope that he plays on a franchise tag, because there is the question of will he, but hope he plays on a franchise tag, give him a deal later. You can do that. It's not the worst thing in the world. Also, you could tag him and then trade him if you wanted to do that as well, get some value back for him. If you're going to let him walk, you do that. You tag him and trade him. You don't just, sign, you don't just let him go, right? You want to get some value back, which we've seen that happen a decent amount. But as a whole, I mean, you see all those ugly numbers. The reason why the Cincinnati Bengals have those ugly numbers isn't because they're paying too much money on the passing game. In fact, they've barely been paying anything at this point on the passing game. This is just now when they're going to start having to do that. It's because they've missed on so many drafts. To me, pay the star players, start hitting on draft picks. You do that, you'll be back in conference championship games. But that's what I think about all of this. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.